So my number one fantasy rule, minimize risk. So who better than to bring in a guy who is so cautious he actually wore sunscreen for the TV lights, Field Minister Yates.
I also wear a T-shirt into the swimming pool. Don't ask. It's just good for your skin.
No question about it. Good advice. Hey, listen, Field. All right, so give me a player in the first couple of rounds that's going that you're worried about that you feel is a little bit risky.
So in the first round, Matthew, I love this player, but Todd Gurley, like me, gets sore after he goes for runs. The guy's got, I don't know if it's degenerative, I don't know if it's arthritis. I'm not Stephania Bell, but I can tell you there's an issue there, right? Now, the upside's obvious. 40 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. The next closest player is Alvin Kamara. But we kind of saw this last year. Todd Gurley was the fantasy MVP through 14 weeks. And then, not so much. C.J. Anderson, like freshly signed off the street after getting cut by the Oakland Raiders, C.J. Anderson became the better back for the Rams down the stretch. And if you watch the Super Bowl, the 3 points the Rams scored, well, they couldn't get anything going offensively. But the offense was a little bit better, I guess, with C.J. Anderson on the field than Todd Gurley. The upside's amazing, but if you're risk-averse in the first round and you don't want to have any concerns whatsoever, let someone else draft.
Yeah, you saw it there on your screen from Week 14 through the Super Bowl, under 50 rushing yards a game. Last couple of weeks of the season, 14 carries, 45 yards, 3.86 yards per carry. That's in the final 2 games of the playoffs. So, yeah, you can't tell me there isn't risk there with Todd Gurley. The upside is huge. It sort of depends on what kind of player you are, but certainly not the Todd Gurley everyone drafted a year ago today. For me, a guy that I think is very risky, Le'Veon Bell, who's currently also going in the top 6 overall. His current ADP on ESPN is 6.1. He's played all 16 games in his career once, Field. This is a guy that has missed 18 games in his NFL career prior to last year when he sat out the entire season. We don't know what kind of football shape he's in, right? So this is somebody that has missed time, and now you go from the Steelers, which was one of the most efficient, high-flying offenses, to Adam Gase, who during his 3 seasons in Miami, the Dolphins ranked dead last in offensive snaps per game. Now, there's going to be more talent in New York than there was in Miami, but there's certainly a lot less talent than there in New York than there was in Pittsburgh during Le'Veon Bell's heyday. You can't tell me there isn't a ton of risk with Le'Veon Bell, and he's going 6th overall.
Yeah, this is a guy that never averaged, by the way. It was never like a 5.5 yards per carry type player. There were seasons where he was under 4 yards per carry. The saving grace, I think, are 2 things. First of all, there's no more wishing for a contract. He has the contract.
He's been paid.
Second of all, he's going to catch the ball a ton. And third of all, he told me on Twitter that I should draft the number 1 overall.
If you can't believe Le'Veon Bell on Twitter, who in this crazy world
what do you stand for in this world?
Can you trust? There's no question about it. Of course, he lied to us last year saying he was going to report. We will see. Give me another player going in the first couple of rounds that makes you nervous this year.
Let's go down to round 3 and Leonard Fournette, who another guy that when he is playing, Matthew, has got workhorse ability. He carries the ball over 20 times a game, frequently when he's healthy. Couple concerns here, Matthew. He has not been healthy throughout the first 2 seasons of his career. He's been punished by the team. He's been punished by the league. And oh, by the way, you know how many seasons he has in his 2 seasons in the NFL of averaging 4 yards per carry? 0.
Yeah, sure.
He's a very good pure runner, Matthew, but for whatever reason, poor offensive line play or just himself being stuck in the mud, Leonard Fournette has not lit the NFL on fire like a player that you draft 4th overall should.
Yeah, 11 missed games in his 2-year career, 3.7 yards per carry, not particularly efficient. You're counting on that volume. And with a new offense coordinator and a quarterback in Nick Foles that they just paid a lot of money to, you don't pay that kind of money to Nick Foles if all you want to do is run the ball. There's still going to be a run-oriented offense, but they're going to open it up a little bit more. And does that help Leonard Fournette or does that take away from him? Because, again, if he's not getting that volume, there are concerns about his efficiency.
Listen, if the Jaguars wanted to pay somebody $22 million to hand the football off, they should have just offered me $19 million. Sign me up. I'm in.
Field would have done it. So my last risk-averse player here, or risky player, I think, is Zach Ertz.
Interesting.
So you think about the big 3 tight ends, and everyone's like, oh, Kelsey, Ertz, and Kittle, and they were so dominant last year. I mean, they truly crushed every other tight end. But if you look a little bit closer, the advantage you got from one of those 3 tight ends was more than double the advantage you got from the top 3 tight ends in any season over the last five years.
Okay.
Right? So to understand, it was just an historic performance, unlikely to be repeated by those top 3 tight ends. They were just so much more dominant than the rest of the field. And then you think about Zach Ertz, right, who accounted for almost 30% of Wentz's completion last season. That's the 3rd highest rate in the league. You expect that to regress to the mean. He had 3 different games of 27 fantasy points last season, only had 1 such game total in his first 3 seasons prior. And then if you're saying to me, Matthew, I don't believe it. So I'm using Zach Ertz as sort of the poster child. I'm a little nervous about him at his second and third round ADP. I have him as my number 2 tight end.
Right.
So
Still like him a lot.
But I don't love where he's going in drafts. I'm nervous about Zach Ertz in terms of where he's going in drafts and returning that value because I don't think you're going to get the Zach Ertz that you got from last year, right? And if you don't believe me, will you believe Zach Ertz?
I'd believe Zach Ertz.
Because appearing on NFL Network, Zach Ertz wrote, quote, obviously we've added a ton of weapons. Deshaun Jackson, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert taking another step. That doesn't mean I'm going to have 116 catches again. Like even Zach Ertz is saying like, hey, my numbers are going to be down from last year. So you're buying last year's stats as his current ADP, and I'm just nervous about that. It was a historic record year. Still my second tight end, but he's a little bit risky for me at his current price.
Yeah, I can't argue with you entirely on that. The difference maker at tight end this year feels like Travis Kelce. Even though he and Kittle and Ertz are all kind of clustered, feels like Travis Kelce is the one that could be the league winner.
He's the guy that has the best quarterback. He's the guy that's done it consistently over so many years. Ertz really broke out the last couple of years, and of course, we've just got the 1 year of Kittle. Thank you very much, Field Yates. I will see you on the 06010 podcast.
I want to do that every day. I want to come on this show quite often as well.
Done.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.